What's up, everybody? Happy New Year. We are back. It is now 2025.
That's right.
And we're coming at you live. First episode of the new year.
What was the oh my god. What was the name? New Year, no new friends.
Yeah, no new year, no new friends. That was our party in
18?
I think we said 7 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
2018.
So shout out. I think that was Brennan.
New Year, no new friends.
Yeah, came up with it. So yeah, a Facebook group.
Unless you share this podcast with somebody else, we can take those new friends.
Yeah, we'll take the new friends. So that was back 7 years ago. Times have changed. So there it is. Times have changed.
That's right. We're back. We're talking football today.
Talking football. Got the big games going on.
College football.
Yep. Playoff. You got college football playoffs. You got NFL playoffs coming up.
Yep.
So, yeah. It's a big time of the year for football.
So college football playoff, what's happening?
Yeah. Hand up. SMU was terrible. They stink.
Yep.
That was brutal to watch. I will say this.
To be expected.
To be expected. I will say the game would have been a lot different, I think, if they would just have converted the first possession and not thrown 3 interceptions. Easier said than done. But give Penn State credit. They're now in the semifinals, so obviously big time game. And
they smoked SMU, and then they went on and kind of smoked Boise State.
I would say they kind of smoked. Yeah, kind of. I mean, when we looked at it, we had talked about this. Them and Texas, we said, probably had the easier routes to the semifinals. But I don't know.
Look at that.
Yeah.
In about 5 minutes, we could be saying Penn State and Texas are both in the semifinals.
We could. 5 minutes live coming at you. I will also say the first round games, there really wasn't any good games.
Nope.
I hate to say it.
So you had Texas beat Clemson by 14.
Yeah.
Ohio State smoked Tennessee.
Smoked Tennessee.
What was that?
25. And to be honest, Tennessee scored a touchdown with 2 minutes left in the game. They ran one in, their quarterback. So it was literally 42-10.
There you go.
So
Penn State won by 28.
Yep.
Against SMU.
Yep.
And Notre Dame won by 10 against Indiana.
Yeah, won by 10. Also, Indiana had 2 garbage touchdowns, so that game was really never close either. So
a lot of blowouts.
A lot of blowouts. Not really what the committee wanted to see, I don't think, because now you have a lot of talks of the town where they're all like, hey, pass interference, and he caught it anyways. Holy shit.
There's your guy.
Face mask. Look at him. Chill, dude. But no, I mean, not probably what the committee wanted to see. Obviously, there's a lot of questions. But then you look at the teams that people wanted to be put in. Alabama loses to Michigan.
Looked awful.
Looked god-awful. And
not a lot of opt-outs.
No, and to be honest, that's the difference. Is I understand it's a different game, but you had your starting quarterback, you had your starting running back. Your offense looked the same. I don't really know technically defense. I'm pretty sure it's probably very similar. They didn't have a ton of opt-outs.
No.
So, I mean, it's crazy. I shouldn't say crazy, but that was the other team that you wanted in, and they lost to Michigan, who was a far lower team.
And then the other team that had potential to be in was Miami.
And they lost to Iowa State.
Yeah, weird situation there with Cam Ward sitting out at halftime.
Yeah, the coach was not too happy with it.
You don't think?
He called him out in an interview.
The Miami coach?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
really?
like, well, when Cam Ward quit on us at halftime.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he called him out.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he called him out. He said, it's pretty hard to change your game plan when your starting quarterback Cam Ward just basically sits out at halftime and selfishly sits out. He called him out. Oh, yeah. Straight up.
Dang. I didn't see that.
Yeah. Also, yeah, that was a weird... I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. That was a crazy game, though, in the sense that was so high scoring. No defense could do anything.
No.
So, fun game to watch. But, yeah, that was interesting. I mean, does that just show that Cam Ward's not a good guy?
Yeah,
He's
but
a selfish guy?
All the things that people have said about him, like...
People love him.
The, like, different GMs and people in the NFL or, like, anybody that's interacted with him, everybody's like, oh, he's a great leader. Like, he's not selfish at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like a really good dude. And then it's like, wait a minute, these two things don't really line up.
Right. Yeah, it didn't really. It was just an interesting because He was playing well. The game was close. It wasn't like the game was a blowout or anything. It was literally a close game.
And he's playing well. 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Interesting.
We'll see. I mean, it won't really affect him.
No.
He's still going to be one of the top 2 quarterbacks taken.
Oh, yeah. Cam Ward, he's not the number
Him
one.
and Shador.
Yeah, if not the number 1.
Yeah, it won't really affect him at all.
Oh, so he actually, people said they saw it coming.
Really?
So if he started, others would start. But if he opted out, there was 10 other players who would have opted out as well. So they convinced him to start. They didn't know how long he was going to play, but they did not expect, the coach did not expect him to leave at halftime. So it makes no sense.
If the writing's on the wall, then how did you not have that expectation?
Yeah, interesting.
That's dumb.
But also, yeah, talking about Shador Sanders, Colorado got smoked too. They looked horrible.
Yeah.
So.
But then again, still won't affect his draft.
No, it doesn't affect anything.
Spot.
Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, obviously now you got there's some big games. Obviously today, this Arizona State game is coming down to the wire against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Big one, Ohio State, Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I think that's kind of what everyone's looking forward to.
Yep.
You already mentioned it, Penn State moving on. They beat Boise State on New Year's Eve, and then I have no idea when the Sugar Bowl will be played. Potentially tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Notre Dame, Georgia. And I think Notre Dame, are they favorites?
Like
a toss up.
Like by 1 point.
By 1, yeah, because Carson Beck's out.
Mm-hmm.
Also surprising. I mean, I don't know. This whole playoff is also interesting because it's kind of showing that like some of these quarterbacks that are big names on these big teams definitely should not go to the NFL.
Give us the list of them, Dave.
I would say Quinn Ewers 1, 2. Carson Beck is now with his injury. I actually think
he already declared
for the draft.
Yeah,
no, I know. Can't you take your name out, or do you have to keep it in?
No, I think he's done in college.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's going to the NFL.
Ugh, gross.
He just wants that money.
Yeah, but think about he's got to be getting a decent amount of money.
He should be getting probably more in college than the NFL.
55th overall prospect. I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the year he was like potentially a top 5 pick.
Right, potentially.
Yeah.
But he didn't play that well.
No, he's horrible. But yeah, I think it's interesting. We talked about this off air. You have all these NIL deals now for these kids to come back.
Wait, so you got Ewers?
I would say those are the
Carson
two
Beck.
big ones because the other guys have to. Like Dylan Gabriel has to go.
Yeah, because he's out of years.
I think Will Howard has to go potentially if he's gonna. I mean, when I say have to go, I mean they're gonna graduate. I don't know if they're gonna go to the NFL.
Yeah, they're done in college because they have no more years of
Yeah.
eligibility.
Riley Leonard's probably pretty close for Notre Dame.
I think he's done
He's done.
in college eligibility.
Yeah. Well, obviously, and then Levitt from Arizona State will be fine.
So Drew Aller is one of the only ones that has potential to come back
Out of those teams, yeah.
out of like all the college football playoff teams.
Yeah. I mean, Quinn Ewers, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers and the Arizona State guy,
Yeah.
Levitt.
Yeah, Levitt. It will be interesting actually to see what Levitt does because you're losing your number 1 wide receiver who's been hurt. Scadabo's gone. Like, what's your team going to do? Arizona State was projected to finish dead last before the season started. Dead last.
Yeah,
That's
in
insane.
in the Big 12.
In Big 12.
Yeah.
They were 3-9 the previous two seasons.
What is happening? Oh God.
Pass interference though. It's a flag. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Penn State had an interesting thing before the bowl game
What was that?
where their backup quarterback had to declare and enter the transfer portal because the timing window is so weird. And I guess the coach, there was a lot of players who actually declared or were going to go to the transfer portal, said they're going to the transfer portal, but actually played in these other bowl games, not in the college football playoff, but other games, which is interesting. But it makes sense. I mean,
So
he's not going to play over Drew Aller.
I feel like we talked about this last year, changing the.
You have to change it. You have to now with this college football playoff. I mean, the playoff goes until, when's the championship? The 20th of January?
Which is a week later now, isn't it?
I think so. And when does
Than
the
what it was.
transfer portal?
Well, the other thing is the teams that are still playing have a disadvantage because they've got other things to focus on while still trying to work on the transfer portal. So it's like you have all these top teams that are worried about winning in the playoff, and the transfer portal is like already full steam ahead.
Right, and you're kind of missing. I think it's hard because if it says right here, if you're in the bowl or the college football playoff teams, you have until the 25th of January. So you have 5 days after the championship to declare for the transfer portal.
Oh, okay.
But the hard part is, by that time, if you're wanting to go to a different school, there could already be a quarterback that commits to that school. So then you're going to find a different school. And all you're doing is traveling to these different schools.
True.
And then it's like, okay, well, maybe you get stuck at some. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess the question would be, if you enter the transfer portal and you commit to a school, like let's say somebody commits to a school, and then all of a sudden Quinn Ewers comes out and says, I'm committing to that school too. Can you decommit and go somewhere different? That has to be in a certain window too, right?
I would guess. I don't know the exact rules, but
I don't know. That's crazy though, because that's the thing. It's like when you have these big name guys, or if you're looking to transfer and somebody else transfers to that school, you really aren't. The reason you're transferring, I feel like, is because you know you're going to play.
Because you want to play.
Or you want to play. So it's like, oh, hey, if Quinn Ewers comes, I'm not
You have
playing.
a good situation to have play. A good chance of playing.
Right. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line.
A lot of money.
For some of these players. It just keeps going up and up. So, yeah, $6 million. That's crazy.
After the first full round has been completed and we're halfway through the second round, do you think that your opinion on the seedings stays the same, or do you think that it is changing to seeding them 1 through 12 or some other way?
Yeah, I guess I don't know, it's a small sample size, but I think it's hard because, like we said, those first round games were really just kind of blowouts.
They were like, they have to play the game, but
yeah, but it was almost like it was a warm-up game to go to the next game.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't hate the seeding the way it was. I just think it's hard. It showed how much. I don't remember who I was talking to at this, but it shows how much in college home field actually plays a huge part. I mean, in 2 of the games, you have the Penn State game, Ohio State game. The weather was below 30 degrees, and in the Penn State game, it was 35-mile-per-hour winds. Well, SMU's never played in that. Tennessee looked like they never played in the cold, which they probably never have. So you're obviously playing at a huge advantage in those games. And, I mean, it's like the same thing with Texas. Even if it's nice weather, the weather you take out, you're playing in front of 100,000 people. It's a home game.
95,000 of them are Texas fans.
Correct. And so it's just like one of those things. I think the seeding thing is fine, but I think it just also shows how important home field advantage is. I just don't know how you change it because, like we've talked about, the only thing is, okay, so if Clemson wins their division or their conference, the ACC, should there be 5 out of the 5 conferences, all of those teams, you go 1 through 4, so 4 get a bye. Should the next conference winner be the 5th seed so they get a home game? Maybe. I don't know if it really changes the game. I don't know who they would play. Like, potentially they would play SMU. So then you basically just have a rematch of your conference championship.
Yeah. I think it's good that the Arizona State-Texas game is close because if Texas would have just come in and ran through them, like Penn State kind of did with Boise State, then, I mean, those people would be so loud.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think
they didn't deserve to buy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the thing is, it's hard because the first round games, like I said previously, are what the committee didn't want to see at all. Bro, can't kick it out of bounds. Then the next round, like you said, if Texas would have smoked them, you ought to have said, okay, well, the best 5-6 teams are now going. And then it's just hard because you want to give all of these guys, you have to give these smaller schools somewhat of a chance. Because if there's only one of those schools, it's like, okay, well, we're playing for the championship. If we don't make the championship, then we're screwed. I get it, but also, you haven't really made a good name for yourself. So we'll see. I mean, the hard part is, like we said earlier, you got a team like Alabama who thinks they deserve to be in. Ole Miss deserve to be in. Miami. 2 of the 3 teams have lost. Ole Miss hasn't played. South Carolina lost too to Illinois. And so I think it's hard in the sense that it just, I don't know. It's too early, I think, to tell. I don't think you can change too much about it because it's the first year. But I definitely think it's a talking point where next year you look at it and you're like, do we potentially change up the seedings? Do we do something differently? I mean, the Big Ten has looked fantastic.
Yep.
Besides Indiana, who I know you were on a cruise. Brutal.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I don't understand. You're playing to win a football game. This is my rant about Indiana. You're playing to win a football game. You've been talking about how you deserve to be in. Your one loss, you got smoked by Ohio State.
Yep.
You're now playing Notre Dame. Yes, you're on the road. You're down by 24 points with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter at the 45-yard line with 4th and 3, 4th and 4, and you punt. And your reasoning is, well, our offense wasn't doing much. Okay? Dog, play to win the game.
Yeah.
What are you playing to cover? Like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. And so, obviously, the score was close. They did. I actually think this game was 7.5 or 8.5. I don't think it was up to 10.
Okay.
I think the other games were like 10 or so. I think every team in the first round covered. All the favorites covered. Yeah, was favorited covered.
Yep, I gotcha.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the next round we'll see what happens. Arizona State's putting on a good show right now. I think a lot of people want to see potentially Texas versus Oregon or Ohio State. But if Arizona makes it, give them credit.
That's right.
So, see what happens. I haven't really watched any other bowl games, I'll be honest with you, because I just never know. And we talked about this. It's just hard when you never know who's playing and not playing.
Yeah, not of interest.
No, not of interest. And so I do think the college football playoff has been great because there's more interest. It has drawn a lot more interest. Correct. Mm-hmm. So, there you go. See what happens.
Love it.
Yeah. How do you think, now this is, I don't know if this is the first year or what year, but of like NIL. Do you think NIL is good? Or do you think they need to like put some restraints on it? Obviously, there's the rumors of Quinn Ewers already getting offered $6 million to transfer, which is tampering. But do you think they need to put some restrictions on it where it's like you can only, like, I don't know. I mean, is it good for college football? Is it bad for college football?
Well, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
But they screwed themselves by doing it so unorganized at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So now there's like so many different ways that you can get different things of value.
Yeah.
Money, cars on a lease or whatever.
Right.
You know, and it's like it seems like it's very school specific on how they interpret the rules and what they can do or can't do.
Yeah.
You know, they probably didn't think that people were going to be coming out and being like, oh, I went to Michigan and we want them to have good quarterbacks, so we're just going to donate $10 million specifically to the quarterback of Michigan so we can get whoever we want. Mm-hmm. They probably didn't think that was coming.
Right. Well, I think it just kind of shows how many. I mean, there's a ton of people in this world who have way too much money.
So much money. I saw, this is not really sports related, but it's money related. So I saw a thing that if everybody in the U.S. got the same amount of money, like they made their salary was the same.
Like everyone made $100,000.
Well, so based off of the wealth that's in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay. If everybody in the U.S. made the same amount of money,
okay,
what do you think that annual income would be? Like what number? If everybody
so like every person,
everybody in the U.S.
I would say
same amount based off of how much wealth there is in the U.S.
$300,000.
No.
More?
Yeah.
Is it over $1 million?
No.
Oh.
It's like
700.
No, you are not too far off. 450,000.
Yeah.
Each year.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but I mean, then you think about it, like, think of how much $1 billion is.
A lot.
And some of these people are making hundreds of billions.
You can put a lot of hundreds of thousands of dollars into $1 billion.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's insane. I mean, I think people look at it like, and don't get me wrong, the top 1% or the percentage is very small, but that gap is so wide. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who don't make any money or don't make over the whatever threshold, but it's just like, it is insane how much. If you have $1 billion, you could give X amount to people. I mean, what is that? 1,000?
Like, oh, here,
1,000, 100,000s?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, dude.
Yeah, so giving it to your school to get a quarterback, it's like, all right, whatever.
Whatever. No, it's a write the check. Who cares? I
Totally.
mean, and what's insane though is
I
you're
think
giving
it was
this
a tax deduction.
probably a tax. Yeah, all these guys that make billions know every tax
and gals.
sorry, and every human being that has that much money or makes that much money knows every single little
Or
tax
they know somebody
break.
that knows all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, dude, these guys make their money. Don't get me wrong, but they're not working a 9 to 5. They're doing other things that.
Right.
But I do think it is crazy. You're paying a guy $10 million to come to your school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is projected to be very good. There's videos of the kid. He's a beast. He's huge.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, you guys don't win the national championship. Did you just throw away $10 million?
Probably.
Right? I mean, let's say you don't even make the top 25. You just threw away $10 million.
Well, hopefully he can lead to being in at least the top 25.
I know.
Do you think that, what do you think about, I don't think there's anything like this right now,
Mhm.
but what do you think about connecting it to, like, kind of like how in a lot of, like, pro contracts it's incentive based.
Mhm.
So it's like, all right, if it's a quarterback, right?
Mhm.
If this person if this person throws for 2,000 yards
Yep.
in the season, then you get this much. And then I don't think technically they can do that.
Yeah.
And because then it is like,
It's literally it's like the NFL just in college.
right. But at the same time, like then at least it's like going to something that like people are performing and then they get the money.
Yeah,
rather than it's like,
performance-based.
oh well, this guy should be good. Okay, we'll give him $5 million. Well, he sucked. So
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it happens. I mean, I saw a story about in a different sport in college that guy center for Indiana, Ballo from Arizona.
oh yeah.
Apparently, he's getting $2 million,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a video
Saw
of
that.
him. They came out and said he had a lower body injury, and literally there's videos of him going out the night before and like getting drunk, and he was
Yeah.
drunk, and on the bench he's seen laughing and stuff, and there's all these tweets that were people were like, well, that's what happens when you give a kid $2 million. I mean, you have to realize these kids are getting more money than they've ever seen before,
Mm-hmm.
and they're college kids. Like, you're still a college kid. I mean, look, we were broke college kids. We didn't have that much money in college,
Right.
and we were still going around buying alcohol, buying whatever. I mean, think about if you had $1 million.
And then $2 million.
That's what I'm saying. So I do think it is crazy. I mean, I don't know how you do the incentive base because I don't know how you make it where it's like, I don't know. There has to be some kind of restrictions, but at the same time, I don't know.
I don't
You're
know.
paying them to play. At this point, the NIL, like I said, it's hard because I think the way it started was like, hey, this is good because college football makes so much, or college sports make X amount of money.
Yeah.
Let's pay these players. You want to keep kids in school. You want to keep kids coming back. But now, all you're doing is the transfer portal is making it a disaster.
They're staying in college. They're just going to multiple schools.
Yeah, so they ain't going to school. They're just going to get paid to play sports. So it's already happening.
Uh-huh.
It's just the incentives are different. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think
You think he's gonna make it or miss it?
I think he's gonna make it. I would be shocked if Arizona State won this game.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
But
All right, are we good? College football?
yeah, college football. There it is.
We're almost there. We're almost to the end. Do you feel like I know we're not talking about basketball today, but do you feel like you've kept an eye on any college basketball, or is it like as college football and the NFL are like slowly getting down to the end and like entering the playoffs time,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, now I can actually like put a little
Lock
bit
in.
more effort into seeing what's happening in college basketball.
Yeah, I think that, especially on the college end, that's it for me for sure. Because because I do think it's, for me, the college basketball season starts kind of, well, it used to be after New Year's because that was when all the games ended, right? Oh, it's shanked it. So now they got a chance.
Oh no.
So that was how it used to be, I guess, like for my thought process. Now that this is going on until the 20th, I mean, college basketball for me really ramps up probably a month and a half, 2 months before March Madness, because I'm like, I got to see what teams are
I
really
gotta pay attention.
And you're starting to now get conference games. Like,
Yeah.
the Gophers are now in the Big Ten schedule.
Yeah. I think it's like, well, it's tough too because I feel like most college basketball programs take a little time off
Around the holidays.
Christmas.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think it is I don't know, college basketball. Yeah, it'll come up fast though, because next thing you know, it'll be March Madness.
That's right.
But
All right. Well, now on to NFL. We're almost to the playoffs.
last week,
Thank goodness this week's pointless for the most part.
Yeah, this week's pointless. Fantasy football's done. I don't know. It's exciting. There's really only a handful of games that really do matter because there's only some. I mean, in the AFC, you literally have one spot for 3 teams.
Yep.
And so a lot has to happen for that. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy because I guess I don't know. I'll pose you the question. Out of these 3 teams, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos, who do you think gets in?
I think it'll be the Broncos, but I think people are the most scared about the Bengals.
I think the Bengals are the one team that if nobody wants to play if they make the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they would be going to Buffalo.
Yeah, Broncos play the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have already come out and said they're resting most of their starters. So
I think they're 10.5-point favorites. The Broncos are.
yeah, and I think it's partially because, like you said, I think most teams don't want to play the Bengals. So why wouldn't you want the Broncos to go to the playoffs? I mean, do you think it's the Chiefs trying to help out the Broncos? Or do you think it actually is just they're resting their players?
Well,
I think it's a little bit of strategy.
I think the Chiefs, Mahomes has been injured a little bit. Like he's playing through a ankle injury.
Yeah, he's been screwed on the
So
ankle.
like him sitting makes sense.
Right.
But apparently I didn't realize this until like the last week or two, is that only 6 players can like officially sit out and not dress.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that it was so few.
Yeah, you have to have a certain amount on your active roster.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be interesting. I mean, here's the reality though is you could put a guy on an active roster
And then just
Just
have
have not
like
play.
the third stringer.
Yeah, like you could essentially be like, all right, Samaje Perine, you're our RB3, you're playing this game.
Right.
And if you get hurt, we'll have a backup for you, but you're literally
Right.
the guy.
Can you imagine if you're the starter, but you're not good enough to be like one of the 6 guys that sits out, and you're like,
Damn
you
it.
get moved to the third string, and then the first guy or 2 gets hurt, and then you gotta go in like.
Yeah, you don't want to. And the game doesn't matter probably.
Yeah.
You probably didn't even really warm up. You probably
Right,
like,
exactly.
shit.
And if the guy gets hurt, you know it's not like right at the beginning of the game, so you're coming in
Cold.
the third quarter.
Yeah, you're just
It's
sitting
like,
there all day.
Yeah, that would be the worst.
Right. I feel like there's probably some players, obviously Mahomes, and then you probably have like your star defensive player sitting out. And
Mahomes, Chris Jones was out last week. He's out again this
Yeah,
week.
probably-
But injury.
probably potentially.
So that probably doesn't count.
Right. There's
Kelsey
gotta,
will be out.
Oh,
Jesus.
probably
Oh boy.
Pacheco, probably.
So
He's
did
breathing.
they have to use a timeout here?
I believe so. I mean, this bro is hurt. I mean, it's a clean hit.
You think they go for it?
I don't know, dude. This is a clean hit though. But I think it's one of those things like Chris Jones, like because you said the injury.
So he doesn't count. So Kelsey,
Oh, actually, that could be targeting hits on the head.
Mahomes. I don't know who else.
I think Pacheco might sit out just because he's been dealing with the injury.
They could just. That might be.
It might be. Can you call that after if they never threw it on the flight field?
I don't know. All right, so you got the Chiefs. They're sitting guys. The
Yep.
Bills. They're sitting guys. The Ravens. They do have to win
Yeah.
to win the division.
Yeah, they got to beat. They play the Browns, who they should smoke the Browns.
They should smoke them, but they still have to at least play their guys.
Yep.
At
least
the
for a little
beginning.
bit.
Yep. The Texans.
Don't.
That doesn't.
They're sitting
matter,
their guys.
so they're sitting. Steelers. They're playing.
Yep.
Chargers. They're probably gonna sit their guys.
Yeah.
Man, maybe not.
I don't know. The way I look at the Chargers is I feel like, and especially with Jim Harbaugh, I think they're gonna like play their guys and then they're gonna feel it out and be like, all right, if this game is.
The benefit they have is they'll know if the Steelers won or lost because they play on Saturday.
Yep.
And so if the Steelers lose, then I could see the Chargers playing their guys to try and move up to the 5th spot. Because that 5th spot, they're playing the Texans, and that is a way better game to play in than getting smoked by the Ravens.
Yeah. Yeah, the Texans have.
You know? So if the Steelers do lose, the Chargers, I could see them playing their guys. But if the Steelers win, then the Chargers, they don't have any benefit to winning or losing. I think they would be locked into the 6th spot.
Then they would play the Ravens.
Then they would play the Ravens, yeah. and then whoever slides into the 7, they would play the Bills.
Yeah. I mean, tough games. That's top heavy, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, yeah. There's really only. It is interesting.
So then you go to the
NFC.
Eagles, they're sitting there, guys. Rams, they are.
Well, they're in.
The Rams are.
The Rams are sitting there, guys. I thought.
Are they?
Because didn't they win their division?
They already won their division, yes.
Yeah. And the Seahawks at LA Rams are 6.5 point favorites. So I would imagine they're sitting there, guys, because there's no way Seattle would be that high favorite.
Would they stay in the 3 spot, or would they bump down to the 4 if the Bucks win? Because they would have the
same record.
Yeah.
Doesn't give a tiebreak on here, but yeah.
I mean, if the Rams are 6.5 point underdogs against Seattle, you gotta imagine that they're sitting there, guys.
Right. Well, it's a similar situation. Like if the Buccaneers, they probably know the situation, but if the Buccaneers win at 12 o'clock or are winning, then it depends what the Rams will do. They play at 12 and the Rams play at 3:25.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay.
Yeah, you have them. Fine, but so then like even like we said in the AFC, so like the games that really do matter, you have the Bengals game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Bengals Steelers Saturday. You have
and the Ravens one does still technically
Ravens technically matter. Yep, but so like the Bengals playing for that last spot.
Yeah.
You have who is that other team? The Dolphins playing the Jets.
Yep. And the Broncos.
And the Broncos playing the Chiefs.
Yep.
So 2 games at 3:25 and then 1 game on Saturday. 2 games on Saturday.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see what happens.
And then you got NFC games that matter. The
Bucks. Buccaneers versus the Saints and the Falcons versus the Panthers.
Both at 12 o'clock?
Both at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Both should win.
And then technically the Commanders game matters.
Just to move seeding?
Yeah, if they win, then they're the 6th seed.
Okay.
If they lose and the
At
Packers
Dallas.
win, then the Packers are the 6th seed.
Yeah, so the Packers play at home against the Bears. Commanders play on the road at Dallas.
Yep. So if the Commanders win, they're 6th, which is much better than the 7. Because 7, you go to Philadelphia.
Yeah, you don't want to go to Philly.
That would be bad.
And then
so
the big game,
they're incentivized to win that.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so then the big game, you got the Vikings versus the Lions.
Huge.
Playing for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty crazy. For both 14-2. It is crazy to think that you're 14-2 and you still have to battle for the 1st seed.
Can you believe the Vikes are in this position?
No.
It's hard to believe.
It is kind of hard to believe. I will say this. I know J.J. McCarthy is potentially the future. But, dog, Sam Darnold has looked very good.
He's balling
lately. I mean, he looks like he's locked in. Obviously, I mean, you got Aaron Jones on a 1-year contract.
So locked in.
Oh, he's so locked in. And don't get me wrong, we've talked about this. You have the best weapons, one of the best or top 5 best weapons.
Easily.
With Addison now coming out of his shell, I mean, he's been balling. Hawkinson's back.
Yeah.
You have Aaron Jones, who's been good. He just needs to stay healthy. And then you have, obviously, Jettis. That's it.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good game. I'm 56.5 over-under.
I would probably pick the over.
I would actually probably pick the over.
Because the Lions' defense sucks.
The Lions' defense sucks. Our pass defense is really bad. And
When
the Lions just score.
When the Lions were playing the 49ers last Monday, I was just envisioning Sammy slicing and dicing the Lions D.
Yeah. Dude. Well, it's just, yeah, I mean, it
really
just...
bad.
It'll be interesting to see how they play it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It's hard to go to Detroit.
Yeah, but better to do it this week than in the playoffs.
Yeah, that is nice. So what would we get if we didn't? 5th?
5, yeah.
So we would play the Bucks?
Yeah. Or the Falcons.
Bucks or Falcons?
Bucks or Falcons. If the Bucks lose and the Falcons win, then the Falcons would slide in because they beat Tampa both times.
Yeah. I just think it's huge. I mean, the bigger thing is if you get that number 1 seed, you have home field throughout the playoffs.
Correct.
And that's what we need.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
Because a poll came out, and apparently Minnesota is in the top 3 toughest places to play in the NFL.
Really? I would say it's Minnesota.
Yeah.
Do you know them?
Yeah.
Seattle?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the last? New Orleans?
No. They're in the next tier down.
New Orleans is?
Yeah.
Is it NFC or AFC?
AFC.
Steelers?
No.
Buffalo.
No.
Really? Kansas City.
Yep.
That's because you don't want to know why. Let's say
it's
it.
loud.
Well, let's also say it. The refs. I mean, what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, there you go.
Just cancel me if you want. Okay, whatever.
It's tough to play there because of the refs.
It's tough to play there because you're playing. You're not just playing them. You're playing multiple. Yeah.
Right.
But I do think it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know. It is always hard to go on the road. The nice thing about Minnesota or even Detroit is you're indoors.
Inside. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I feel like Buffalo would have been one because it's like, dude.
Right.
Ooh, that could be something.
That could be something.
Just with the snow and stuff.
Mhm.
We'll see.
All right. I brought this question up yesterday with some of the others, but do you think so? We talked about a little bit the seeding in college football.
Yeah.
playoff,
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Do you think that the people that have that opinion
Mm-hmm.
for the college football playoff, do you think that they have the same opinion that in the NFL it should be seeded 1 through 7?
What do you mean?
Like by record? So
Oh, so like
the
instead of
Viking-
divisions,
divisions are
or instead of conferences.
the divisions determine who's in.
Yep.
But if you're one of the teams that are in, it's purely seeded based off of your record. So, like in this case, the Vikings were the 5 seed right now because we're the wild card currently, and because we're not a division winner.
Mm-hmm.
But in this hypothetical question, because we're 14-2, we would be in the 2nd seed.
Oh, so you're saying literally it doesn't matter if you win your division. It's literally
Once
record.
once the teams have been determined on who's in the 1 through 7,
Got it.
then it's seeded based off of record.
Oh.
So like in this scenario, the Buccaneers, they're the 4th seed right now, right? Because they're the division winner. They're 9-7.
Missed
Oh
it.
my gosh.
Missed the game time field goal. We're going to overtime.
Oh my gosh. That was not that far.
That's 38 yards.
Oh boy.
That looked like it almost got blocked.
Okay, so the Buccaneers, they're 9-7. Well, there's no other playoff team that has less than, well, the Rams have 10 wins, otherwise 11, 11, 14, 13, 14. So in this scenario, the Buccaneers, rather than being the 4th seed, they would be the 7th seed.
Okay.
And they wouldn't have a home playoff game. It's basically the exact same argument for the college football playoff. The conference winners, right now, they're getting the buys.
Yeah.
And so then they either get a home playoff game or they get by. But do you think that the people that think that it should be seeded 1 through 12 also would have the opinion that it should be seeded 1 through 7 once the teams are picked? Or because it's the NFL, it's different?
I think it's the NFL. It's different.
What do you think about that hypothetical?
I don't know. That's a good hypothetical. I think the biggest thing is, don't get me wrong, home field still plays a factor. I think home field in college is way more important than the NFL. However, the hardest part about this is with like strength of schedule and everything like that. I mean, I don't hate it if you win the division or you win your division. You're in the top 4, you get a home game.
Right, but so the teams making the playoffs, it would still be the exact same as it
So
is
essentially,
now.
we would be the 2 and we would get a home game.
Correct.
As your hypothetical.
Yeah. And Philadelphia would be the 3 because they have 13 wins.
And then the Commanders or the Packers.
And then either the Commanders or the Packers right now would be the Commanders, so they have the tiebreaker over the Packers. So they would be the 4 seed.
Interesting.
And then you'd have the Packers, the Bucks, and the Rams be the 3 teams that have to go on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good hypothetical. I guess.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, home games I think are always important, like we said, but I don't know. I think the NFL just doesn't ever change. That's the hard part.
I don't see it changing, but I think it would make sense. Like, okay, let's go to the AFC.
Well, it would make more sense too, like you said. I mean, record would now play a huge factor. So now you would have teams who, if they're close like this, wouldn't sit out. You'd have to play your guys because if you were right on the edge, even if you win your division, you're right here on the edge, 10-6. Well, the Rams are then for sure going to play their guys because they have to get that home playoff game.
Right.
Instead, they're already in, and I think this is why they're sitting their guys on here. It says Seattle's already been eliminated.
Yeah.
So there you go. So the first tiebreaker must be conference wins.
The first tiebreaker is head-to-head.
So it's head-to-head, and then it's... Because here's the thing. If the Rams lose to Seattle, they would both split the head-to-head. Doesn't even say why the next tiebreaker.
Well, it's head-to-head, and then I don't know what the...
Wins tiebreak over Minnesota based on head-to-head win percentage. Wins the tiebreak over Green Bay based on best win percentage in conference games.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, you look at the AFC then.
Kansas City's
still won.
Buffalo 2.
Mm-hmm.
Ravens 3. But then you got either the Steelers or Chargers getting that last home playoff game. Because let's be honest, the Texans do not deserve a home playoff game.
Right.
So then it would be the Texans, whichever the Chargers currently, and then the last team that gets in would be the away teams.
Yeah. So how would you do, I guess if you had 3 teams, so would you still, what would be your tie break then hypothetical? So like if the Ravens lose, hypothetical, Steelers and Chargers both win, all 3 finish at 11-6.
It'd be the same tiebreaker.
Same tiebreaker. It just wouldn't be head-to-head. I mean, head-to-head probably wouldn't matter.
No, if there's 3 teams that are tied at the same, unless one team beat both the other teams.
Okay.
I don't know, kind of like...
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like I said, the hard part is you're going to get teams like Texans would never agree to it because they want that home game. Like in this situation. But it is definitely a different hypothetical. It makes every game way more important.
It makes more games important, and it also, it makes year to year, because I mean, the AFC South has been pretty poor
all year,
for a couple years now.
Yeah,
only the Titans a couple years ago were very good, right? But it incentivizes consistency across years too.
Right.
It's not as you're not just automatically getting a home playoff game every year because you win your shitty division.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, I think the Chiefs have won their division the last
a lot of years,
X amount of years.
Whenever Mahomes came in, for sure that many years.
I mean, it's kind of similar. Yeah. I mean, you look at the rest of the divisions; they probably haven't won that. I mean, San Fran used to run that division; they are out.
Yeah.
This division has always stunk.
Exactly.
So yeah, I definitely think it puts more impact on it.
There you go.
There it is.
Just
hypothetical.
Putting a little plug out there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. This is a wild game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
2 missed field goals. And here we go.
You got anything else?
No. Big game Sunday night. Skol.
Sunday night. It all comes down to that game.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's prime time. Let everybody watch. Even though now, oh my gosh, it peeved me so much when I can't remember who was saying it, but they were like, "Oh yeah, still got time to get on the bandwagon of the Vikings." This was a week or two, a week ago.
Yeah.
When they were playing the Packers, and some announcer was saying touchdown.
Oh, I thought it came up with that.
They were saying you still got time to get on the Vikings bandwagon. It's if you weren't on 3 years ago, sorry, you missed your chance.
No, and that I will say that's the other thing when you listen. How is this not caught? The thing that pisses me off about these people who have platforms like their own TV shows or radio shows and stuff like that is beginning of the year, every single person, there's actually a video, I think it was on Twitter or TikTok, that like all these people are like calling us out like, oh, you might get 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins. And now it's like they come back.
The Vikings put it out.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Good.
On their Instagram.
Didn't get it. Now they should probably, now it's like all these players are coming out and they're like, oh, dude, I love the Vikes. Been rooting for him for forever. Sam Darnold slinging. And it's like, first of all, Stephen A. Smith, shut your mouth. You've never been a Vikings fan. Even Dan Orlovsky, I think Dan Orlovsky's great. Don't, and I know it's his job to kind of give that stuff, but don't be like, oh, I've been impressed since week 1. Y'all counted us out since week 10.
I think Dan was one of the people that said that we could be
good.
better than what we were projected to be.
Yeah. Fair.
But I don't know if I would go as far to say that he was like, oh yeah, they're going to be so good and they're going to be in this position. Like,
yeah. Well, I think
he
it's
said
just
we were going to be good.
Yeah.
Better than what we were supposed to be, but don't act like he expected us to be in this position because nobody could have seen this.
No, I don't think anyone could have seen it to be. I think the craziest thing about it too is it's just like it is so interesting and so unique where it's like, I mean, we were what, our over under was 4.5 wins, 5.5 wins.
I think
5.5, maybe 6.5.
5.5 or 6.5. Because I mean, once you get down to 4, it's like
you're dog water. I don't actually think any teams are down to 3.5, maybe 4. Maybe like Panthers, Patriots.
Yeah, maybe Patriots.
But I just think it is crazy. I mean, it's like everyone's like, oh, dude, we love him, dude. Skol. It's like, nah, dog. If you didn't ride with us when we were dog water with like Christian Ponder and stuff, you're not hopping on now.
Right.
Sorry.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. Yep. Go cheer for America's team, the Cowboys. If you want to jump on a band.
Or apparently the second America's team, the Packers, because everybody's loving them.
Yeah. Well,
until we dog walk them.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing too about it is every time they talk about the Vikings, they do give some credit, but I think also at the same time, I don't think you got it. Oh, that's a good spot. You got it. I think what's crazy is they always talk about them and they're always like, yeah, but you know what? The Packers, they just didn't play very well. Vikings are a good team, but Packers just didn't have it. Yeah, maybe because the Vikings.
Right.
Like maybe we should give a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
But
do you think Jordan Love's a franchise quarterback?
I think Jordan Love, don't get me wrong, I do think Jordan Love has the talent. I think the receiving core is still young. Josh Jacobs has actually been a huge addition to that team.
The receiving core sucks ass.
Yeah, they're still young. I think the difference is they got to get somebody that's legit at the receiving core. But I also think at the same time, the thing that would piss me off if I'm a Packer fan is the fact that he makes so many throws jumping off his back foot. And I'm like, it's cool, you complete 5 of them. You also underthrow 6 out of 10.
Right.
Like, dude, step into your throw and throw it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. You got to give them some credit. I think their defense, sure, injuries. I don't know. I think the one thing, and this is the same thing I've said about the Lions and we'll say about the Eagles. The Lions have always had that mantra. The Eagles, the thing that pisses me off about their head coach, they're so, like, ambitious and risky all the time. I just think it's going to come back to hurt them at some point.
Hopefully this year's playoffs.
Kick your field goals, do whatever you got to do, and just play the game. Like, you don't have to go for it every 4th down.
Yep.
So, we'll see.
All right. Well, now that we've ranted about the Vikes.
Against the Vikes. Don't hop on.
Yeah.
See you next week. Yeah.
That's where we're leaving you.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. See what happens.
1 seed. Let's go.
All right. Skol. Peace.